At this time, I have the distinct honor of introducing the keynote speaker for today's convocation. Our keynote speaker is an author, educator, political advocate, radio host, minister, national speaker, hip hop scholar, husband, father, and grandfather. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson earned a bachelor's in sociology from Carmen Newman College and a master's and PhD in religion from Princeton University. Dr. Dyson is a New York Times best-selling author who has written 19 books on race, politics, and the African American experience. Dr. Dyson is a New York Times contributing opinion writer, a prominent intellectual, and a noted political analyst. The Associated News just announced that Michael Eric Dyson is one of the country's most prominent scholars on race. He has a new book that will be released this December, and the title of that book is Long Time Coming: Reckoning with Race in America. Dr. Dyson's new book will address the history of racism from slavery to George Floyd. Our keynote speaker is widely known in the field of academia. He has taught at many educational institutions around this country. With the civil unrest in the state of our country, we are very fortunate to have Dr. Dyson today. He is a highly sought-out public speaker who is known to excite and empower diverse audiences. By many, he's known to speak truth to power and is never, ever without words. Please join me in welcoming to Los Angeles City College, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Day, for that incredible introduction. I want to call you Reverend Dr. Professor Dean, head woman in charge. What an honor it is to be here today, virtually at least. I wish I was out there with you all kicking it in the sunshine on the West Coast. Some people say the best coast, so that having this opportunity to forge even further alliance with you and my dear friend, Dr. Berry there, your tremendous faculty, incredible students, and the wonderful, marvelous job that you do, Dean, Doctor, to prepare those students for a full-fledged existence and to be able to move forward in the world equipped with not only knowledge, but inspiration. So you, Dr. Day, are an inspiration to all of us. And I want to thank my dear friend, Dr. Berry, for connecting us, an incredible young professor who is doing amazing things. I've known her since even before she got that terminal degree, and now she's big time. I'm glad she still knows my name. But what an honor it is to be here today and to help salute your, wonderful Center for Race, Equity, and Social Justice, which is extremely important in these days and time. We are living in very difficult times. We're living in an incredibly complicated, if you will, epic and era in American history. And so for you to begin such a project, for you to talk about race and equity and social justice as key themes of not only the present as we grapple with various conundrums, conflicts, and battles that we're confronting, but also to look toward the future as we continue to build upon the premises, the principles, and practices of those who came before us. So it's an honor to be here today. What I want to do then is speak a bit about the issue of race and social justice and anti-Blackness, given what we're confronting in the headlines today. We are now living through a period of civil unrest that harkens back to the 60s. You know, time and again, we hear not since the 60s has, and then you fill in the blank. But in this case, it happens to be absolutely true that we are living in a day and time when those who were hungry and nostalgic for the times of the 60s, wondering when they looked at those grainy black and white photos or videos that appeared from the 60s, wondering, I wonder what it was like to get on those streets and to be the product of the strategy of Ella Baker or Septima Clark or Daisy Bates or Joanne Robinson or Martin Luther King Jr. or Diane Nash or Jim Bevel, or to walk with John Lewis across that bridge. What must it have been like to confront the powers of evil the same way that C.T. Vivian or so many others confronted those evils in the 1960s? What was it like to hear the death, to learn of the demise, to feel the power of the denied reality of life for an Emmett Till? Well, we have our answer. We are living in an epoch and an era when the echoes of history resonate and rebound in our own day. Emmett Till meet George Floyd, right? When we think about Viola Liuzzo, the woman from Detroit, Michigan, who was a housewife and a civil and social activist who was leaving, I believe it was Selma, after the march and then gunned down mercilessly. Meet Heather Heyer, who was protesting in Charlottesville, Virginia, against neo-Nazis and white supremacists. When we think about those 4 little girls blown to their reward in the church, the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, think about Breonna Taylor, a bit older than them by a decade, and yet a powerful, beautiful, wonderful, innocent woman who was nonetheless gunned down in her own apartment in a case of mistaken identity with a no-knock raid that was a botched raid, with a no-knock warrant, with a botched raid. And her boyfriend asleep with her, then having a gun, shooting because they did not announce themselves as police, shot her several times, killed her, and none of the cops have been arrested. So we don't have to worry or wonder about what it was like to live through the 60s, because the 2020 and 2020s and the previous years and the teens, where we have seen the resurgence of white supremacy, the recrudescence, the rebirth of white bigotry. We are living in historic times where we don't have to look back to Dr. King or Ralph Abernathy, when we don't have to look back to Natty Helen Burroughs or think about Mary McLeod Bethune alone in their historical grandeur, because we have both the opposition and obstacles, the impediments and the roadblocks, and the opportunity to do something significant, because we are living in unprecedented times, at least over the last 50 years. So when I think about where we are, if I were to give title to my talk, and the great Southern historian C. Van Woodward said that a title is a contract between an author, or in this case, a speaker, and his or her audience. And if I were to give title to this talk today, I would entitle it, the United States of Amnesia. Now, that title is not mine to begin with. It was pinched, borrowed, sampled in the terms of young people from the late great writer Gore Vidal, who said that we lived in the United States of amnesia, addicted to forgetfulness, refusing to acknowledge who and where we are, where we have come from. I would suggest, to give my Dysonian interpolation and addition, coda, if you will, addendum, whatever big word you want to use to say, I'm going to add my own flavor. I would say that the theme song for the United States of Amnesia is provided by Barbra Streisand. Now, I know you young heads out there, trying to figure out who the heck is Barbra Streisand. What is a Barbra Streisand? Now, I know y'all stuck on Taylor Swift and Adele. I get it. Hello. All right, I understand. You got your Beyonce queued up. I'm not mad at you. Black is king. What up? But Barbra Streisand also was a tremendous songstress, is still a tremendous songstress. And she sang a song written by two distinguished songwriters called Memories. And in that song, she said, "What's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget." And what's too painful to remember in America is the history of white supremacy, social injustice, economic inequality, anti-Blackness that has threaded itself throughout the history of this nation. Here we were in 1619, 20 and some odd Negroes, as we were called then, extracted from our resting place in African soil and brought here forcibly against our will to patriate this American society, this hemisphere, with our bodies, and to populate this arena with our bodies so that we could be exploited, so that our physical labor could be exploited, but our intellectual ingenuity, which those who were our captors swore we didn't possess, and yet they depended upon our ingenuity to figure out how to do better forms of work, to make sure that cotton was king, to make sure that the crops that we tended to did well, and that the economic infrastructure of American society rested upon Black labor, Black livelihoods, Black lives, and of course, Black brains. And so from the very beginning, 1619 as a symbolic and iconic moment, as an iconic figure, we know that there were Black people in North America long before 1619, but that's an iconic number because it summarizes the mass forced migration of Black bodies from Africa, mostly Central and West Africa, over here to the 13 colonies. And those 13 colonies, by the way, all of them featured people who owned enslaved human beings. Now, a lot of controversy, speaking of the United States of amnesia, a lot of controversy has accrued around the 1619 Project of the New York Times. Hannah Nicole Jones and her other authors, who unleashed on America a remarkable, intelligent, insightful, brilliant interpretation of America through the lens of those who were most despised, those who were most vulnerable, those whose backs were against the wall, those who were the victims of white terror, of white supremacy, of economic injustice, of social dramas, of white innocence, white fragility, white comfort, all coming together, and of course, white privilege, to deny the legitimacy of Black mobility. And so enslaved Black people put on whether urban cities or southern plantations, and there we were kept in order to do the work of the masses. And isn't it interesting that many white brothers and sisters called us lazy and said we weren't willing to work while we were doing all the work? In fact, reparations, if we're going to make a bottom line deal with it, if we're going to talk about what the economic bottom line is, could be said to be, just payment for what Black folk did. Man, we done worked a bunch of overtime. Where the check at? Where the money at? Right? I know we don't end sentences with the prepositions. So you brilliant students out there who are taking English composition, please do not emulate my inelegant, infelicitous formulations, grammatically speaking. Spank, 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 bad professor. So the thing is that when we were extricated from our resting in the African soil and brought here to America and forced to build this economy, we made America what it is today. The amnesia of this society would suggest to us that America was essentially constructed on the rhetorical backs and the verbal tongues and shoulders, if you will, of great figures like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. No doubt, they did their thing. But at the same time, the ingenuity, the sweat, the labor, the intense industry, the undoubtable diligence, the assiduous work, look it up, ASSIDUOUS. Why are you saying that? Because I want you to learn what that word be meaning. So somebody look up assiduous and tell me what it means. All right, I know. Another word for diligent and another word for working hard and paying strict conscientious attention to the task at hand, applying what my daddy used to call elbow grease. And so despite all that hard work that Black folk did, we live in the United States of amnesia and tend to forget that Black people made a significant and serious contribution to this American nation, to these United States of America. And a lot of people got mad. A lot of white liberal historians were mad at Nicole Hannah-Jones and mad at the New York Times, Jiminy Cricket, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. Why would you unleash this report on America? And they suggested too that one of the impetuses and imperatives of the founding fathers and the original 13 colonies was the ability and desire to protect their investment in enslavement and slavery. Why that controversial? Excuse me for this solecism, grammatically speaking. Why that be controversial? What's the deal with that? Why is that even controversial? Of course, people who had invested in enslavement. Of course, people who had, with the rawhide whip of the overseer, as Howard Thurman talks about it, the great Black Christian mystic, the long rows of cotton, the sun beaming down upon their backs. Why wouldn't it be the case that those figures who benefited from enslavement as they founded a new nation would believe that in forming the more perfect union, they were going to protect their vested interests, and one of them was enslavement. It ain't started with the Confederacy, y'all. Even in 1776, and we know Crispus Attucks in Boston, a Black man, one of the first people to die. And if you listen to your Stevie Wonder, you would know it. First man to die for the flag we now hold high was a Black man. Yeah, I'm dropping jewels on y'all. I don't know what y'all doing out there. I'm dropping jewels on virtual jewels on you right now. I'm spitting some Stevie Wonder and Thomas Jefferson at you in the same paragraph. Respect my game, young people. Respect my game. So the reality is that Thomas Jefferson, writing the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. What men? Look at the United States of amnesia. You didn't have in mind Black men, brown men, Latinx men, yellow men, red men, right? You had, right? And I don't mean Redman the rapper, you know what I'm saying? Him and my man, you know, from Wu-Tang Clan. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So the reality is that they didn't mean everybody. Everybody wasn't everybody. The universal was particular. The universal was slanted. The universal was specific. The universal was peripheral. The universal was marginal. The universal was provisional. The universal was not universal. Stop trying to fool us with your words. You're sounding good. You're a nice rapper. You're spitting something, but what you're saying, right? You're trying to debaby us. See what I did there? The baby. I'm killing y'all. So the reality is that in American society, in the United States of amnesia, we have forgotten that we engaged in this nefarious activity of slavery, that we use Black bodies to build American society, that we then called them lazy after extracting labor from them, often killing them, shooting them, whipping them, beating and punishing them if they sought to be free from the tyrannical, arbitrary whim and caprice of overseers and of masters. This is the United States of amnesia in which we live. And if we don't tell that story, if we don't excavate that truth, the amnesia to which we are addicted will prevent us from understanding the source and origin of anti-Blackness in America. And it started from the giddy up. That's what they say in my generation. The get go. Do y'all know anything about that? Come on, people. You young people got to get with old people. See, we tired of y'all doing all the linguistic transformations. You know what I'm saying? We got stuff we said too, boo, right? We know, and even when you do your thing, y'all out there in Los Angeles, show some respect for my man Snoop Dogg falling back on that ass. What the hellified gangster lean, getting funky on the mic like an old batch of collard greens. It's the capital O-S-O, yes, impression, double O-P, D-O-double-G-Y-D-O-double-G, you see? Showing much flex when it's time to wreck a mic, pimping what and clocking a grip like my name is Dolomite. That was just a commercial. Let me get back to the program. I just want to spit a little Calabama accent for you to let you know I'm down with the LA scene. I understand Nipsey Hussle, right? I understand that same kind of Louisiana infused dialect that bears the mark of Southern culture, that can be traced back to Southern plantations, that can be traced back to Africans on that soil. So when you hear a Snoop or you hear a Nipsey, you are hearing the great Black migration, right? In 1910, most Negroes lived in the South, as we were then called. Don't call no Black person no Negro now, right? 90% of us lived in the South. Negroes from North Carolina went up to New York. Negroes from Mississippi went to Chicago. Chicago ain't nothing but a suburb of Mississippi. Negroes from Alabama and Georgia went to Detroit. And Negroes from Texas and Louisiana went over to Los Angeles, California, right? To join the brown people who were already there, who were displaced off of their land in a series of genocides. The first one was of red people, of native people, of indigenous people, of people who are the original Americans who were here when you got here. How you gonna go to somebody's crib and then see them in the living room and claim you found the house? You ain't found the crib, you stealing it. Kicking me out. You ain't paying no rent. You ain't giving me no compensation. So what we did to native peoples and indigenous peoples in this country, right? It's not just anti-Blackness, it's anti-native realities, anti-red identities, the yellow fever, the way in which we demonized Asian brothers and sisters in this country, speaking about them as carriers of virus. And now we see it updated with the vicious neo-fascist white supremacist resurgence out of the mouth of one of the most ignorant figures ever to occupy political space in American culture. The China virus. It is the American virus. It is the Washington, D.C. virus. It is the Trump virus. It is the virus of white supremacy, white nationalism. You got Stephen Miller right up in the White House, in the Oval Office, in the White Crib, so well named, spewing venomous hatred for those who are vulnerable. We got a man who stands up every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode. I'm gonna let you think about that one. And so here we are in the United States of America, the United States of amnesia, in the United States of America, forgetting that Asian brothers and sisters, yellow brothers and sisters, red brothers and sisters, brown brothers and sisters were the subject of American empire, colonial impulses, and genocidal instincts. And then the anti-Blackness that we are grappling with to this day, along with those other factors, forces, and features. Here we are in America, wondering where it came from. Why did police keep killing us? Because they were doing it on the slave plantations when the slave patrols were founded in the 1700s. Get out of the United States of amnesia. What's too painful to remember? We simply choose to forget. And so slave patrols were invented so that slave owners or owners of the enslaved could keep them in place. Because believe it or not, for a while and episodically, enslaved Black people were worked all day during the day, but at night, come on now, let's get some Luther Vandross up in here. Creep, creep into my dreams. Y'all don't even know who Luther is, do you? What a shame. Let me take a moment to tell you, you better go study some Luther. Don't you remember? I told you I loved you, baby. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all on some Trey songs. Baby, 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 ooh, baby, baby. Look at that. Come on, Dr. Day. Come on, Dr. Berry. You know I'm spitting that real. Some Freddie Jackson, some Luther Vandross. Y'all don't even know about that. Talking about Jock Heads as the king of R&B. If you dream you as cold as Luther, you better wake up and apologize. Luther was singing Stevie Wonder, though. Creep, creep into my dream. And Brenda Russell, if only for one night. Let me take you home. Come on, y'all, man, you talking about getting your groove on. You up here calling a woman out of her name. B, hoe, skeezer, slut, hood rat, chicken head. What kind of woman you getting with that? This is all extra. Don't worry. I ain't charging you for this. I know what my point is. I'm going to go back to it. But I got to spit against the venomous misogyny, misogynoir, the sexism, the patriarchy, the femophobia, skirt of a real woman when she shows up. You calling her out of her name. Shorty, she taller than you, bruh. Back to my lecture at hand. So when we talk about creep, creep into my dreams, right? At night, enslaved people got a pass from massa to be able to go check out they ladies, right? I know it's their ladies, their women, their girlfriends, their wives, right? And some women to their husbands, but mostly the fellas trying to make the effort. See, even in enslavement, Black men knew you got to treat the woman with respect and deference. Why you making her come over your crib? Can't you get over hers? Take your little Chevrolet, shove one foot and lay the other one if you ain't got a car. I'm spitting it here today. So they would go out at night and they would go visit their loved ones because they had a pass. And that's when they did hunting and fishing, looking for meat, because they would sit up there all day long and see white folk eating meat that they ain't work for, while they calling Negroes lazy. And Black folk would be there looking at, man, look at all that nice meat they got. And they giving us chicken, you know, they giving us the intestines of pigs. They giving us chitlins. Now, we did something with it. Black folk are inventive. You get us chitlins and we turn it into chitterlings, pork bellies, sold on the futures market. We commercialize and commodify the intestinal fortitude of an animal like a pig and turn it into something deep. That's what we do. But dang, we up here looking at you eating the choicest cuts of meats. You eating filet mignon. You eating the nice roast stuff, and we out here eating the bad stuff. So Black people's imagination and desire was stoked. That's why they stole that stuff at night. Oh, you gonna get mad at Black folk for stealing? Let's not live in the United States of amnesia when you stole us from Africa, when you stole this land from brown and red and yellow people, when you stole the birthright and citizenship of Black and brown and red and yellow people in this country through genocidal impulses and instincts. Don't be talking about nobody stealing nothing. Don't be talking about nobody looting nothing. You out here in Kenosha talking about what's going on in Wisconsin or in Ferguson or there in Minnesota. You've been looting for 401 years. Calm down, Michael. I will. Yes, thank you. So the thing is, if you live in the United States of amnesia, you forget that you stole Black bodies from their resting place. You stole the futures of Black people as they were working hard, and you stole their ability to dream, but they kept on dreaming. At night, they would go out and they would frolic a little bit, they would play a little bit, they would visit their loved ones a little bit, and then have to be back. But then the masters got mad because they said Negroes slowing down the work during the day because we ingenious. We figured out a way. We knocked up some of those garden tools, we broke them. We injured some of the animals that were supposed to help us. Sorry, you know, we ain't trying to dog no animals, but sometimes our white brothers and sisters care more about some darn animals than they do us. You could be, I mean, I know you can't imagine this. Imagine you were a black man and the police came to a dispute at your crib and then they followed you out to your car and shot you down with 7 shots in your back. Now, that could never happen in America. But I wouldn't say they treated you like an animal because many white brothers and sisters treat their animals far better than they treat African people in America. This is what amnesia does to us. It makes us forget the royalty of our history, and it makes white brothers and sisters forget the barbarism that is inherent in the narrative of American identity, where whiteness was co-evil with, co-determinant of, a kind of dehumanizing impulse that robbed Black people of their futures, that looted us. Our bodies were loot, our brains were loot, our tongues were loot, just taking our stuff against our will without asking us. Even taking our bodies. Rape culture is endemic to white masculinity in enslavement. Could have any Black woman at will without legal redress or moral compunction. Thomas Jefferson with a 14-year-old girl. R. Kelly is in jail right now. And some would say deservedly so. And if he did what they said he did, absolutely so. Right? We're innocent until proven guilty, but my God, he's going to face this day in court. That's better than cancel culture, y'all. Let me get off on this for a minute. Cancel culture is not the way. I understand why you want to engage in cancel culture, because you figure a legitimate means of legal redress are denied to you. You believe that you don't have the capacity to address your situation in a reasonable fashion. And as a result of that, you get mad. You want immediate justice and you want to kill somebody's reputation and you want to signify on them on the internet. That ain't the way. It feels good for the few cases that you think it does work for, but by and large, that ain't how we should be doing stuff. You just ruining somebody's reputation. You just saying some stuff and they ain't got no ability to defend themselves, and you go with it. And like a mob on the internet, people begin to spread it like a prairie fire. And then before you know it, you have disserved the very people that you claim you want to see treated justly. And even if you have a beef with them, it's got to be better than cancel culture. As jacked up as the criminal justice system is, it produced a Thurgood Marshall, a Charles Hamilton Houston, a Constance Baker Motley, a Patricia Harris, a Pauli Murray, a Benjamin Crump, a Lee Merritt, a Johnny Cochran, a Ken Cockrell. Come on, y'all. And so we know that in this culture, the refusal to recognize our humanity, the failure to cede our legitimacy. So Black people were breaking implements and tools. They were doing all kind of stuff. They were trying to slow down the work to make certain that they could get a little shut eye when the master wasn't looking and when the overseer wasn't looking. And then at night, they were seeking to enjoy respite from the tyranny, the vicious imperialism of American racial practices. But the owners got mad. They wanted these Negroes to work. They wanted them not to rest at night. They wanted them to work so hard during the day that they couldn't go anywhere and frolic. And even when they escaped, they wanted slave patrols to bring them back. And even if they didn't escape, if they were out without a pass, some of these slave patrols were patrolling them, beating them down, shooting, and sometimes killing them. Sound familiar? I'm not saying there's a one-to-one correlation between slave patrols and police departments in America now, but there is a genealogical resemblance. There's an elective affinity. between what was going on then and what is happening now. But when we live in the United States of amnesia, we don't study this. Our kids don't learn this in school. Many white brothers and sisters who speak about race without understanding its complicated and nuanced realities that they ought to study. And not just white brothers and sisters, us too. One of the greatest tricks of the devil, Kaiser Soze says, and he was quoting C.S. Lewis, Kaiser Soze, you know, The Usual Suspects, played by Kevin Spacey, is to make us believe he didn't exist. All right? And so one of the greatest tricks of white supremacy is to convince black people you don't have to study your own history. Being born black ain't enough. You can't just say I'm black and I know what it is. No, you don't. You got to read. I'm 61 years old. There's stuff about blackness I'm still discovering. And until the day I die, we'll continue to discover new stuff, new meanings, new nuances, new interpretations of what it means to be black in this country and black across the world. Here we are saying Kamala Harris ain't black enough. The hell you talking about? Hell you talking about? See what I'm saying? See what I did there? A little Janelle Monáe for y'all. A little dirty machine, dirty computer for you. I'm dropping the references. What? So the thing is that when you think about the complicated nature of black identity, the United States of amnesia not only clogs the arteries of white remembrance about white supremacy, white privilege, and the inability to acknowledge the hard work that black people did, it sometimes clogs the arteries of black remembrance too. Like we be forgetting we part of a diaspora. You trying to say because Kamala Harris's daddy is Jamaican and mama is Indian, she ain't black? When y'all know at one point they had that one drop rule. If you had one drop of Negro, you were, but she's a AKA and went to Howard. How much blacker you got to get than the pink and green? All you sororities out there doing your thing, you know, I know you want to beat me down now. Here's to the rock. Okay, I don't want to do it because I don't want no Deltas beating me down. For those who don't understand, these are gangs in Black America. The AKAs, the Deltas, the Qs, A5A, you know, these are highfalutin bourgeois gangs that operate with as much lethal intensity as the Bloods and the Crips. Oh my God, people are signing off the Zoom right now. Shut that Negro down. He is talking infamous disregard for the royalty of blackness. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Do a Crip walk over here. All them different colors they got. You might think they belong to the rolling 60s. My God. Up in LBC. With so much drama in the LBC, come on, man. I'm spitting it for you out here. Give you a little ice cube, right? In a minute. So Black people tend to forget too in our amnesia that blackness is complicated, nuanced. It's of many things, of many origins. You know the difference, as it has been said, between somebody who is Caribbean and somebody who is from California? A stop on the enslaved ship. In fact, they dropped many more people off in the Caribbean than they did in the Carolinas. So how you trying to say that Kamala Harris ain't really black? Now you can have your criticism, I ain't mad. You want to talk about her record, I ain't mad. But to say she ain't black because she is Caribbean and Jamaican? Her daddy was one of the coldest, most progressive economists in the country. Her mama, a cancer researcher. How you gonna be denying her the legitimacy? Went to Howard. Some of you Negroes out here who've been to PWIs, that ain't PWT with Michael Jackson. Pretty young thing, predominantly white institutions all your life, got the nerve to dog Kamala Harris, who took her talents to South DC. I hear you, LeBron. Keep representing, bro. And so she went to Howard. She been black. She is black. She talk black. She think black. She be black. Blackness is complicated. And anti-Blackness that operates in America, the hatred of, the skepticism about, the denunciation of Blackness often infiltrates our mouths and minds too. And so we have to be careful about the degree to which we have amnesia about our own Blackness, light versus dark. Look at me, yellow Negro with glasses and curly hair. I don't know if you can see it. I try to slick it down for you. This the Corona cut. This the Corona cut right here. I just had to slick it back, homie. That's what I'm doing. Light, bright, and almost white, mellow and yellow, demonizing dark-skinned Black brothers and sisters, chocolate, charming Black brothers and sisters, ebony ecstasy, enfurrowed in coffee flesh, like Dr. Berry and Dr. Day, beautiful, brilliant, bold, just amazing Black women. And here we are trying to elevate a narrow conception of what is legitimate, what is desirable, what is beautiful. Look at the internalized self-hatred we have when we refuse to recognize in our amnesia that we have hated on each other ourselves. And then finally, when we think about this anti-Blackness that is operating in America, we got to remember too, we got to deal with race and not just race only. 1619 brought to America against our will, the amnesia of white brothers and sisters, denying the ways in which we were exploited. Now their white supremacist ideology and identity from the 1700s and 1800s and 1900s and the Confederacy operating in the middle part of the 20th century. They acting like them statues been up forever. No, when Negroes were trying to fight for their freedom in the 1960s, a lot of this paraphernalia, iconography, iconicity was generated in the Confederate culture. This stuff new. They ain't old. They ain't hundreds of years old. They babies of bigotry. Got these flags flowing. They ain't had them flags forever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever? Forever, ever? Hush that fuzz. Everybody move to the back of the bus. Do you want to bump or slump with us? We just have people make the party get crunk. I'm spitting old school for you. Sorry, Miss Jackson. I am for real. That's all right. Y'all don't even know. Y'all stuck on, I don't know. Superman now. Okay. I don't know what y'all want. And so when we think about white supremacy, white privilege resting upon the premise of American identity that is not owned up to the fact that it exploited Black culture. And not only exploited Black culture, appropriated Black identity. As Greg Tate says, taking everything from Blackness except the burden of being Black. Taking the way in which we think about each other, talk about each other, signify on each other, love each other. Our music, our culture, our discourse, our looks, our behinds, our lips, the whole kit and caboodle, want everything except the price to be paid for this Blackness. This deeply entrenched anti-Blackness in America is so profound we can take the look of Blackness and look like Black without being Black. Chris Rock said, ain't nobody in this room want to trade places with me, and I'm a rich Negro. Speaking to a room full of white folks. Now, maybe he sampled that from Jane Elliott, or they influenced each other. The great anti-white privilege organizer and activist and intellectual, along with Peggy McIntosh and Dave Roediger and many others. Mab Segrist and Theodore Allen, Ted Allen, Tim Wise, right? And so in America, white supremacy, white privilege, white innocence, white fragility, white comfort, driving a sense of white distance from Black identity, at the same time appropriating it. Little Richard, when he died, finally got restored to his rightful place as the pioneer, the major architect of rock and roll. But they will take your stuff and then act like you didn't invent it, like you didn't create it. And so As I said, from the slave patrol down to modern policing. This is why Ice Cube said, F the police, coming straight from the underground. A young brother got it bad because I'm brown and not the other color. So police think they have the authority to kill a minority. F that, because I ain't the one for a punk blank blank with the badge and the gun to be beaten on and thrown in jail. We can go toe to toe in the middle of a sale, messing with me because I'm a teenager with a little bit of gold in a pager, searching my car, looking for the product, thinking every brother is selling narcotic. Right? Constantly harassing, constantly not protecting us, but constantly trying to speak about the failure of this country that is Ice Cube to embrace us, to protect us, to serve us. There is no question that Ice Cube was speaking something serious about the police that we have tended to forget. And this anti-Blackness that we see manifest now, this anti-Blackness that we see going on in America, with the police killing Black people, Black men and Black women, shooting us at will, without legal redress, without moral compunction, without hesitation, in the back, in the chest, in the face. Elijah McClain and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Mike Brown and Rakia Boyd and Sandra Bland and too many others to name. And so, my brothers and sisters, when we think about what Ice Cube was talking about, or what Jay-Z meant when he said, Bin Laden been happening in Manhattan. Back then, back when the police was Al-Qaeda to Black men. Look at that analogy. Terror visited upon our bodies. That's why LeBron James said Black people are afraid, because we don't know at what time the police people will try to hurt us. Did they get up on the wrong side of the bed and try to kill us no matter who we are? And so, my friends, as you launch this tremendous Center for Race, Equity, and Social Justice, we have got to forge connections, develop links of affiliation between all of us, Black, brown, red, yellow, and white in America. We have got to figure out ways to consolidate our interests of every area of studies in the university. When faculty members are teaching their work, looking at Du Bois or Bell Hooks or Kimberly Crenshaw, or thinking about some of the great sociological imaginations of C. Wright Mills or Talcott Parsons or Thorstein Veblen or Max Weber, or thinking about anthropologists like Clifford Geertz, or thinking about, critical sociologists like Brother Eduardo Bonilla Silva, when he talks about the reality of racism without racists. When we think about these figures who are thinking hard and long, and during these difficult times, these challenging times, each individual can make a huge difference, and schools can make a difference, weighing in with the incredible intelligence that you possess, and also with the learning that schools are to impart, but also to glean and gather. It's not just a top down, a kind of hierarchical, way in which we look down from the mountaintop to those who need the learning. Michel Foucault, the great social theorist, said power breaks out everywhere, and so does learning. And so the Race and Social Justice Center is an enormously important place. And I think that for faculty and administration, you are doing an incredible job, and you've got to come together, forge those connections, be interdisciplinary, make certain that what goes over here in anthropology and sociology and theology and epistemology and what's happening in soteriology, salvation studies within theology or theodicy, what's going on in hip hop studies, wherever it is and wherever you are during these extraordinarily difficult times, reject your citizenship, reject your membership in the United States of amnesia, and claim your citizenship in the kingdom of memory. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity. I know now that the campus president will speak to us, and that this Center for Race, Equity, and Social Justice will be inaugurated, will be established in such a phenomenal fashion that people around the country will look to you as a model of interdisciplinary study, of intersectional analysis, of global comprehension, of worldwide knowledge, rooted locally, but looking globally. Thank you so much, Dean Day, Professor Berry, and so many of the others who are gathered here for this wonderful opportunity to chat with you today.
Through the boundless potential of empowered, enlightened, and engaged administrators, faculty, staff, and student leaders, we are united in a shared vision and commitment to bring forth social change for our campus and in our community. Our shared work is to dismantle any acts of institutional racism on which the social sector is constructed, and create an equity culture that values the humanity and lived experiences of all individuals equally. I call upon you to help revolutionize practices that establish a culture of belonging and expand the college's actions towards a diverse, equitable, and inclusive campus. I call upon you to support all campus areas who commit to action plans laying out specific measures that promote the recruitment, retention, and success of historically marginalized populations. I call upon you to be a champion for social change.
Through our alliance, we will intentionally demand change to support anyone who faces prejudices as a result of systematic racism. We will listen and act to ensure the future is great for the students who are counting on us. And we will begin to remove the barriers associated with racial hierarchies and deep systematic inequities in our society and across our campus.
This year's theme, Alliance, Uniting Minds for Changing Times, underscores the commitment to the college's equity and ethics mission statement that reads, Los Angeles City College, through an alliance of dedicated faculty, staff, and administrators, is committed to a campus culture of respect that promotes equitable access and learning opportunities for students, engages in professional development to cultivate cultural competency, fosters cultural relativism, demonstrates anti-racist and non-discriminatory practices, exhibits principles of ethical and effective service, recognizes equity as an asset, protects the rights and freedoms of others, and values and ensures meaningful participation and inclusion of people of all identities. Los Angeles City College is a minority-serving institution that shall seek to have faculty, staff, and administrators that reflect our community. We understand this to be a collective responsibility we owe to the communities we serve, and we are committed to taking action and holding ourselves accountable.
The meaning of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement is birthed from beliefs and values, passion and purpose, and an obligation to bring forth social change. Specifically, the Alliance Advisory Group is an association of administrators, faculty, staff, and student leaders who will, through their commitment to promote and engage in a meaningful and sustainable race, equity, and social justice efforts, will champion the intent of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement, thereby realizing social change. Cultural competency is the awareness and knowledge of and skills, action, and/or advocacy for people with different backgrounds and abilities. Equitable access refers to educational programs and wraparound services such as financial assistance, tutoring, mentoring, and counseling for all students to succeed in their academic goals. Learning opportunities includes internships, fellowships, research, multicultural education, and study abroad programs for those who face hardships and challenges due to inequities. The 10 principles of ethical and effective service are: 1. Integrity must be exercised in all aspects of decision-making. 2. An appreciation for diversity must be demonstrated in our campus-wide decisions. 3. We must prepare for tasks and capacity building to achieve our equity goals. 4. We must have ongoing communication and clear expectations. 5. We must show humility in how we relate to ourselves, to our own goodness and limitation, and involves by placing ourselves among others and in the world at large. 6. We must show respect and inclusion in our regard and consideration for dignity of others. 7. Reciprocity is the consideration of our collective strengths, knowledge, and capacity to influence others, and the shared responsibility to work toward mutual benefit and growth. 8. Safety and well-being are priority number 1. 9. All individuals must be held accountable. 10. Learning and reflection is building on lessons learned.
The Alliance Advisory Group is tasked to inform, direct, develop, and monitor a strategic plan and implement the goals, objectives, and actions that are needed to address issues associated with race, equity, and social justice. This work will also include identifying resources, providing training, conducting evaluation and assessment aimed at improving equity and social change.
As the President of the Academic Senate, I pledge my personal commitment to upholding the principles of equity and the ethics mission statement, to share its values with others, and to do my part to help build integrity as a steward of the process.
As the chapter president of the AFT 1521 Faculty Guild, I pledge my personal commitment to upholding the principles of the equity and ethics mission statement, to share its values with others, and to do my part to help build integrity as a steward of the process.
On behalf of the members of Teamsters, I pledge our commitment to practice of upholding the principles of the equity and ethics mission statement, to share the values in it with others, and to do our part to help build integrity as stewards of the process.
On behalf of SEIU 721 supervisors, I pledge our commitment to practice and uphold all principles of equity and ethics mission statement, and share all values with others, and do our part to help build integrity as a steward of the process.
On behalf of the members of AFT 1521A, I pledge our commitment to the practice of upholding the principles of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement, to share the values in it with others, and to do our part to help build integrity as stewards of the process.
On behalf of the students, I pledge our commitment to the practice of upholding the principles of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement, to share the values in it with others, and to do our part to help build integrity as stewards of the process.
On behalf of the senior staff, I pledge our commitment to the practice of upholding the principles of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement, to share the values in it with others, and to do our part to help build integrity as stewards of the process.
Today, we ask you to add your voice to our mission by making a commitment to promote, uphold, and champion the purpose of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement. Your signatory response is an opportunity to add your support and embrace the principles of the Equity and Ethics Mission Statement. In doing so, our collective efforts will help realize significant social change in our institution. A link to the statement is available in the chat window. In addition, an email was just sent to you with a link to the statement and place where you can sign up.
Wow, Dr. Eric Michael Dyson, that was amazing and powerful. Thank you so much for speaking those powerful words to us and getting us all pumped up for our next semester. And, thank you, President Gallagher, VP Lancaster, Dean Day, the Race, Equity, and Social Justice e-launch. This is amazing, and this is just what we needed. We are definitely uniting together in these changing times. I cannot thank enough those who made today possible. Again, President Gallagher, thank you for investing in today's production. VP Lancaster's vision. Dean Day for working around the clock. And yes, my SOD team, thank you for all your hard work. Let's get ready for the next one. Elder Tree, Mark, your team did an amazing job. Thank you. And thank to all of you who submitted the videos and flyers. Thank you for all what you have made today. You all have my heartfelt gratitude. Faculty, your department meetings start at 1:45 p.m. and that Zoom information should have been sent by your department chairs. For staff, we have a few more afternoon breakout sessions in store for you. I can't thank you all for enough. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day, and I will see you via email. Bye now.